Hello, welcome to week 6 of our course. I look forward to working with you during this week. This week you have several assignments to complete. First, you have the knowledge path reading and assignments to complete as usual. Then you have the discussion board to participate in. Remember, for the discussion board to receive full credit, you need to post your initial response to the question and at least 4 responses to other individuals' comments, either other students' comments or my comments. Then you have the typical writing assignment that we've had for each week to complete. And then finally, you have an individual research essay to complete on a topic of your choice related to American history from 1945 to the present. Now, the theme for this week is contemporary challenges or present challenges that the United States faces. And really what the assignments emphasize for this week is the problem of political polarization. Political polarization refers to an increasing division between the political parties, an increasing divided America, not only between the political parties, but between Americans more broadly. So political polarization suggests that our nation is becoming more politically divided, that there's a greater rift between people on the right and left of the political spectrum, and that there's greater disagreement between Americans regarding political issues. And this is, of course, reflected in our political parties as well. The United States has a two-party system, though there have been third parties at times. They've never really gained significant political power. So we have the Republican Party and the Democratic Party in our two-party system. And I think it is quite clear that the tensions between these two parties have increased over the course of the last 20 to 30 years. There is much more cooperation across the political divide, say in the 40 years ago in the 1980s, than there is today. Up until fairly recently, almost all Supreme Court nominees were approved by an overwhelming majority of both Republicans and Democrats. That starts to change first with Robert Bork and then more recent appointments as well. So there is I think there's quite clearly an increasing political polarization in the country. I would argue that we're more politically divided now than we have been at any point since the decades leading up to the Civil War. In the period from, say, the 1840s to 1861, I would suggest that our politics was even more divided during that period than it is now. At one point, you had one congressman beat another congressman with a cane on the floor of Congress. We haven't seen that of late, thankfully. But clearly we are in a politically contentious environment. Many people have commented that it's difficult to have political discussions with friends or family members. Some friendships have broken apart due to political divisions, which historically is quite unusual in America. And we see that increasingly in polling surveys, individuals are expressing the idea that they would not want their child to marry a person from the opposing political party. That's also a troubling development in terms of political polarization. Now, there are several aspects to this political polarization. How are we divided is an interesting question. One aspect of this divide is geographic. Quite clearly, there's a divide between rural America and urban America. So if you look at cities, major urban areas, cities are overwhelmingly voting in support of the Democratic Party, whereas rural areas are overwhelmingly voting in support of the Republican Party. There's also a racial divide. A majority of white Americans or Caucasian Americans are supporting the Republican Party, whereas a majority of minorities support the Democratic Party. This is particularly true for African Americans who overwhelmingly support the Democratic Party. There's a divide related to social class, although it's less clear than these other areas. Very wealthy Americans are more likely to support the Republican Party, but amongst upper middle class Americans, there's increasing support for the Democratic Party. And amongst individuals in the working or lower class, there's a divide. Individuals who are Caucasian in the lower class are more likely to support the Republican Party. Minorities in the lower classes and the working classes are more likely to support the Democratic Party. So there's a split there related to social class. So I think that this will be an interesting topic to discuss. Politics is an issue that can be, as this week suggests, quite contentious. So I ask everyone to be, courteous on the discussion board and, to disagree, but, be understanding of differing viewpoints and perspectives and to be kind to each other. And I look forward to working with you during this week. Thank you.